For a reaction to what you just saw, author and columnist Mark Steyn joins us. Mark, that conversation got me thinking about, she asked, I thought actually a pretty good question, which is why do people dislike Hillary Clinton so much? And I think I actually thought about it because Hillary's not the most offensive on policy among all Democrats, but she grates. Why is that? And I think it's because there's this weird thing that she does where she sells herself as a very strong figure, and I think she is tough, actually. It's one thing I like about her. And then when attacked, immediately retreats into the victim pose. You can't say that I'm a woman, you're sexist. And you just sort of think, that's unfair. That's not good sportsmanship. Like, pick one. Are you ferocious and tough, or are you weak and persecuted? Does that bother you?
Yeah, I think that's actually the problem. But that duality, as it were, I think derives from her role. She's not only someone who's a politician in her own right, but she was also, for many years, and this is how she came to national prominence, the spouse of a prominent politician. And I think that's the difference. When you look at, I was struck by the subtitle of Jennifer Palmieri's book, An Open Letter to the Women Who Will Run the World. Well, actually, outside the Democrat Party and outside America, women do run a lot of the world. I don't happen to agree with them. I mean, Angela Merkel has single-handedly wrecked Europe by letting in millions of phony baloney refugees. Theresa May is going all super wobbly on Brexit. But what they're not is the wife of the previous guy, which doesn't pass the smell test. Well, and you can't shatter the glass ceiling when you're doing this Latin American Eva Peron thing.
That's such a good point. But shouldn't it be off limits, just as a matter of fairness, to pose as someone who's tough and decisive, and then when questioned, as you would question anybody who seeks to have power over you, whip around and accuse the person of bias for asking a conventional question? Like, that shouldn't be allowed.
No, and again, I think what's interesting to me is that the rest of the world has moved way beyond this. So all this talk about how America is uniquely sexist, I don't get. I've sat in the Australian Parliament during Prime Minister's Question Time and watched Julia Gillard, a Labour Prime Minister who I don't happen to agree with, and Julie Bishop, the Deputy Leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition at that time, clobbering each other back and forth. And neither of them would say, if it all goes wrong, they don't say, oh, stop beating up on me, I'm a woman. The fact is, this disastrous investment in Hillary Clinton, to go back to what you've been talking about on the rest of the show, I mentioned this on your show a couple of months back, and I think it's an important point. One reason the party has gone left is because Democratic centrists were represented by the kleptocrat Clintons for so long.
Yes.
So if you're in the Democrat Party and you don't want to feel dirty because the Clintons are in it for themselves, they're opportunists, they're running this rotten charity which is basically there to provide them with a head of state lifestyle when the public declines to make them heads of state. If you're a Democrat, the left is the comparatively clean side of the party.
Totally right. It's totally right. They discredited by their sleaziness centrist politics. That's a very smart point, which I'd never thought of, but I think you're absolutely right.
That has huge repercussions, and Jen Palmieri ought to be addressing that instead of condescendingly telling the rest of the world that Hillary is the future, because that ain't true.
Very smart. Mark Steyn, as always, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tucker.